If you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Girl, that is a lie. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Have a Heart to Heart, where we talk all things life, faith, and growing in Christ. I am your host, Nita Danielle, and y'all, today we are talking about something that has stretched me, that has humbled me, that has grown and matured me over the last almost 15 years, and that is entrepreneurship. And I feel like a lot of times, especially lately over the past 5 years after the pandemic, with the boom of entrepreneurship, so many businesses have started and are starting. Small business is growing by leaps and bounds, which is great and amazing. But I also think that social media over glamorizes entrepreneurship to the point where I think some people get into it and are in for a rude awakening, because sometimes we watch people's journeys in entrepreneurship and how they've grown and started their businesses, and it looks just glamorous and always profitable, and it's just this cakewalk and walk in the park, and it's just so great not to answer to the man or to work for someone else and just answer to yourself. But there is a lot that comes with entrepreneurship. It is hard. Okay. And today I want to share a few lessons that I wish someone would have sat down and told me when I first started out. Not that it would have changed my mind about entrepreneurship. I know I'm called to this, but I think it would have helped me to mentally prepare for the journey that was ahead of me. So, that's what we're going to talk about. Just a little bit about my entrepreneurship journey and what I have learned, in hopes that it helps those of you out there who are thinking about entrepreneurship, maybe newer or earlier on in your journey. And also, if you're an entrepreneur too, I'm curious to know if this helps you, and you can definitely weigh in with your lessons in the comments down below. But let's go ahead and hop into it. Grab your favorite drink, take a deep breath, and let's have a heart to heart. So, a little backstory about my journey. I am currently a full-time content creator and influencer. I create content mostly around plus-size fashion and style. I also talk about beauty, hair, makeup, lifestyle. I share motherhood, faith, all of the things. Before that, I was a full-time hairstylist and makeup artist for a little over 10 years. I got my license in 2009. Yeah, I believe 2008 or 2009. And then I went into being a full-time hairstylist and makeup artist shortly after that. So I know for sure in 2010, I was in the salon full-time. So I have not had a 9 to 5 or worked in corporate since 2009. I got into hairstyling. I was a kitchen-tician. I started taking clients in the 7th grade in my mama kitchen. And honestly, I did not think it would be a career. I wanted to go to corporate. I always imagined myself having this briefcase and, working Fortune 500, girl, whatever. But long story short, I was in college. And I dropped out and went to cosmetology school because I felt the Lord called me to do so. And I have not looked back ever since. So that's just a very small snippet of my entrepreneurship journey. But that being said, I've spent most of my time in either in the beauty industry, and then also in the beauty industry, just kind of in a different way, being a content creator. And so, over the last almost 15 years, I have learned a lot. And I also just enjoy sharing the knowledge and the experiences that I've had. I am the first entrepreneur in my family. I'm actually the only entrepreneur in my family. So a lot of what I learned, I had to learn the hard way. I had to learn just through experience, because there was really no one to guide me or tell me. And, back in that time, 2009, 2010, we didn't have TikTok and Instagram. We had YouTube, but people were not really sharing a lot of information about entrepreneurship. It wasn't as big of a thing as it is now. So just to give you a little backstory on my experience and what I did and what I do, to kind of shape what we're going to talk about today. All right, so the first thing that I want to talk about is actually a lie and a myth that people always push when it comes to entrepreneurship. And they say, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Girl, that is a lie. That is a lie. That is a lie. Don't believe them people when they tell you that, okay? I don't care how much you love and enjoy what you do, which I believe you should as an entrepreneur. It's hard enough. You need to love it and enjoy it. There are going to be aspects to your job, to entrepreneurship, that you do not like. there are going to be aspects of this that feels like work because it is, okay? I don't want that to shock you. I don't want that to surprise you. I don't want you to get into it and feel like, dang, I actually don't like this part of it or that part of it. That is absolutely normal, okay? Especially if, again, as an entrepreneur, you're in the business to make money, to support yourself and your family. There's going to be something about it that you don't like. I don't care how much you love what you do. When I was behind the chair as a hairstylist, the thing that I loved and hated, honestly, about the industry is people. I mean, we know that as society goes, people gon' people, okay? And it seems that they're just getting worse. People have all kinds of audacity. People have no couth, Lord Jesus, okay? Now, the thing that I loved about the beauty industry as well was the people. I loved my clients. I had the most amazing clients. I loved being a part of people's special moments. I loved getting people ready for weddings and birthdays and, just doing their hair or makeup for literally whatever. The clients and the people were the most amazing part of the job, and it's actually what I miss about doing hair and doing makeup, but it was also the thing that I did not like because of course I had clients that were just not as kind, not as nice, that treated me like the help, that treated me like a robot, that felt like I should never have time off, never take a break, never, all of the things. And if you have been in the service industry in any capacity, you know that people can girl, okay? People gonna people. And so just to give a snippet, I enjoy and I still love the beauty industry. I still have love for it. But the thing that I loved most about the beauty industry, which was the people, being around people, being a little therapist, getting all in my clients' business. I really enjoyed my clients and the relationship that we built as a client stylist relationship. But like I said, there was also one of the things that I did not like about the job per se. Also in influencing, I love what I do. I love encouraging women. I love giving style tips to women, curvy women, plus size women, especially who feel like, they can't have style until they reach a certain size per se. And I absolutely love what I do. There are amazing perks to being an influencer, obviously, and I love it. However, there are parts of this job that I don't like. There are certain brands that are just a pain to work with. Of course, being on social media, the comments, again, people have no couth. People have no filters online. They just say literally anything, and we're just not built to receive that much criticism every day. And so I'm just sharing a few of the pros and cons to the industries that I've been in, just to share that again, no matter how much you love what you do, no matter how much you love your field, your industry, the business that you're building, again, you should love it. I hope and pray that you do. But just know there are going to be aspects to it that you don't like. There are going to be aspects that you honestly hate. There are going to be aspects that really get on your nerves and make you be like, why am I even doing this? I am so serious. But that actually leads me into my second point is that you need to know your why, and your why needs to be bigger than money, okay? So, again, as an entrepreneur, you're building a business and you are in the business of making money, and you should be. You need to make money in your business. That's how it's successful. That's how it grows. Again, I don't care how passionate you are about the business. It's not a business if it's not making money, okay? That's the point. However, your why needs to be bigger than I'm doing this to get a check. Entrepreneurship is hard enough. Dealing with, whatever the nuances that come with whatever industry you're in is going to be hard enough. You need to love what you do and have a why that's bigger than a paycheck. Because there are going to be certain things opportunities that come with a big check, and it's not going to be worth your sanity. It's not going to be worth your peace. It's not going to be worth your time. There are going to be ebbs and flows in business. There are going to be seasons where you're not making money, especially starting out. Starting a new business can be very tough. You got to build your clientele. You got to market and let people know your business exists. You have to, promote your business, gain new clients. You go through the ebbs and flows of, figuring out what works for your business, figuring out what people like from your business, figuring out your processes and procedures if it's a new business. All of the ebbs and flows that goes with, starting a new business. And also, even once your business has some traction and has some time and skin in the game, you have to pivot the business. There are going to be certain things that come with growing the business. Again, it's just a whole journey. And in those ebbs and flows, in those highs and lows, when you want to give up, like I said, when the money may not be coming in, when, the economy is shifting and people are not shopping the way they used to, when, things happen in business. And when those things happen, Your why is going to be the reason that you continue to push through because you have to have tenacity in business. You have to pick yourself up and keep trying, okay? And again, I'm not saying this to say that business is bad. It's absolutely not. But entrepreneurship is a journey, especially when you're starting a new business. All right, so point number three is don't be afraid to try and bet on yourself. Y'all, there have been so many ideas that I've had, especially when I was in the beauty industry, that I did not act on simply because of fear. Fear that it would fail, fear that people wouldn't like it, fear that nobody would buy, fear that nobody would come to the event. Whatever the thing was, there was just so much fear around, starting the business. And starting a new business or like adding something to an already existing business can be scary. And I think I've learned that that's normal because it's new. Again, I don't care how sure of yourself you are. I don't care how great of a business plan you have. When you're starting something new, there is a level of, there is some fear there because it's just fear of the unknown because it's new. And I had to learn to push past that fear. When I first was starting to create content outside of just being a hairstylist, there was a level of anxiety and fear in that. And I pushed through and it really taught me. The power of the pivot, but also just to continue to do things scared. Because it was a completely new industry for me. And you would expect as a hairstylist, that I probably didn't have any fear, but I actually did. When I was behind the chair, my page was all my clients. You might have seen me here and there, but I wasn't creating content around myself personally. It was literally pictures of my clients, their hair, their makeup. And if you saw me, it's because I was promoting a wig or I was doing my own hair and makeup. So to go from doing that, promoting the salon and promoting my services for people to come in to now, sharing outfits and sharing links and showing my life, that was very different for me and it was scary. Like I was like, what if nobody cares? What if nobody watches? What if nobody sees? There's a level of fear in that. And, doing it scared taught me that like you have to try, bet on yourself. Cause why not? Why would you expect someone else to buy into your business if you don't believe it yourself? Why do you expect anybody else to patronize your business or to support whatever you have going on if you don't first support yourself enough to put it out there, to give it a try, to be consistent, even when nobody's watching, even when nobody's looking, even when nobody's coming through the doors? To continue to show up, to continue to promote your business, to continue to market, to continue to pass out the flyers, to continue to, show up when nobody else is jumping on the call, whatever you have going on, you have to not be afraid to try because that is tenacity and consistency and follow through is really the difference between entrepreneurs that business make it 5, 10, 15 years and people that businesses flop within a year or two. One thing that helped me with this and not being so afraid of failure is there's a podcast called it's called How I Built This. The How I Built This podcast. And so they had interviews with all kind of businesses from the owner of Spanx to the owner of the chicken salad chick to the owner of the lip bar to, literally any business you can think of, they have talked to the owners or the CEOs or whoever founded or started these companies. And one common thread that I found among all of these business owners that they actually did fail at some point. I remember there was one person, I think it was a chicken salad chick, don't quote me on that, but she actually got bought out of her own business and had to come up with the capital to buy back in and buy her business back. I remember, the owner of Spanx going from she used to literally go knock on doors to sell her product and how she got into stores and stuff from just literally not giving up. There's just literally so many businesses that I had no idea went bankrupt many times or was about to go bankrupt. And I'm talking about more, smaller businesses. Of course, a lot of these businesses now have, they've scaled well beyond being like a solopreneur. They have a board and, they're corporations now. But just to hear their stories when they were first starting out, when it was just them, when they were packaging orders themselves, or when they were in the kitchen cooking and sending, selling the plates themselves, or when they were figuring out the product themselves, to hear how these businesses started and the adversity that they continue to come through, that's what helped me to realize like, oh, wow, I see these businesses here 10, 20 years later, but they went through a lot when they first started out. So if they can do it, if they can fail and keep on trying, then I know I can too. And really, That's the only difference between one business and another. Knowing your why, again, because when the business fails, you have to have that why to push you and drive you to keep going when things are going awry. But also, again, just the tenacity to get back up and try again, the resilience to get back up and try again. Because again, business is hard. There are going to be things that come and try to knock the wind out of you, but you literally have to get back up and keep going, regardless as to whether someone else is cheering you on or not. So, um, I feel like I went on a little tangent there, but I promise you, check out the How I Built This podcast. If you love business, if you need a boost, I promise you, listening to some of the stories of some of your favorite businesses and brands, it will give you that push to keep going. It's like if they failed and they got back up and kept going, I can fail and get back up and keep going too. So you owe it to yourself to try. And so that leads me to the next point is to understand the cost of doing business. And I mean in all ways, financially, time-wise, effort-wise, there is a cost of doing business. What I do think now, again, in the age of social media, I think no one wants to put skin in the game, time-wise and effort-wise. And also people think that everything should be free. There is a literal financial cost to doing business. I don't care what business you have. You're going to have to pay some kind of money. And I understand we all bootstrapping. You may not have, 100,000 to drop. Like who does that, right? But there may be, a $10 a month charge to have your website, right? There may be a, $10 a month charge to, open the business account. There may be a $20 per month charge to have your Shopify set up or your payment processor or whatever it is. There is a cost to doing business. It is not free. And so I would encourage you to count the cost. If you're just starting out, figure out what does it look like for me to run this business? How much money does it take to run this business? I mean, from, like I said, website, your business bank account, your payment processing system, if you're taking payments of any kind, invoicing systems, your telephone, if you get another phone, or if you're using Google Voice, whatever it is that you're doing, you need to know the cost of doing business on the financial end and also time-wise. How much time is this going to take me? Am I going to am I going to have some sleepless nights to get this done? Can I afford to pay somebody so I don't have to have so many sleepless nights, right? Is this going to cost me my weekends? Is this going to cost me my free time? Am I going to have to, turn down the brunches and the trips and stuff so I can get this done? You have to understand and count the cost to doing the business. It's not free financially, and it also costs something to run and grow, Lord Jesus, a business. Count the cost. It's not free. It's never free. And again, that's not just financially, that's time and effort to really know what it takes to run your business. And then also when it comes to, counting the cost, that's going to go into my next thing. Get an accountant ASAP. Now listen, there's all kind of advice when it comes to finances and structuring your business on social media. Go to an accountant. Go sit down with an accountant and let them tell you what you need to do for your specific business in your specific state, in your specific industry. And get off of TikTok and YouTube, letting people tell you how to structure your business. I'm not saying that the advice is not helpful, but at the end of the day, you need to go to someone who can tell you specific information about your business. And an accountant, in my experience, is going to be that person. Well, between an accountant and a lawyer when it comes to structuring the business. But I feel like they go hand in hand when it comes to if you need an LLC, if you need to just open a separate business banking account until, the business grows to a certain amount of money, an accountant typically can help you with that. How you need to do your taxes, how you need to structure your taxes, the pros and cons of, like I said, structuring a business in different ways. There was so much I did not know, y'all, when it came to, the finances of the business until I was hooked up with a really good accountant, not just someone to do my taxes, because that's what I had before. I had someone doing my taxes when I was a hairstylist. But when I made the pivot into being an influencer, everything was so different. The finances were so different. Our payment terms were so different. I needed additional help. And I had to find another accountant who was well-versed, not just in my industry, also in my state, also in my personal situation. And I highly advise you, again, every accountant is different, but I highly recommend you to go sit down with someone to get information for what's going to work for your business. And if you don't do nothing else, girl, open a separate business account for that business. The finances for the business need to be separate from your personal. Again, I don't care if you're a sole proprietor, meaning you don't have a LLC or whatever. Cool. Just open a separate account for your business. You can do that. Then, of course, if you have an LLC, you definitely need, a separate business account, S corps, all the things. But even if you just starting out and saying, "Hey, girl, I don't have no LLC. I'm just starting." Cool. Open a separate business account and have your finances go into that business account. That's all I got. Go see an accountant. Trust me when I tell you, it will save you time, it will save you money, and it will save you mistakes that you may have to pay for later down the line. Trust me. Trust me on this one. Go sit with an accountant, y'all. And that leads me to my last point, which is to stop comparing your journey to the journey of others. I feel like, so many entrepreneurs look at other people and other businesses and business owners and feel like you're not qualified, like you're not good enough. Who's going to listen to me? Who's going to buy from me? Who's going to come into my business? Who's going to support me? And first of all, I feel it comes back to knowing your why. Who are you here to serve? Who is your business serving? Who is your business helping? What problem is your business solving? What is the connection personally to you? And know that there's somebody looking for you, for your business, for your voice, for your product, for your service, for your whatever it is that you're offering. They're looking for you. So number one, remember your why. Come back to your why. And your why is going to be different from the why of another person. No matter how similar the whys are, there is someone connected to your business. There's a customer looking for exactly what you serve, what you're giving, what you deliver, and what you offer. And you have to know that. You have to know that. Remember your why. And also remember that you don't know what's going on in the back end of someone else's business. And I don't mean this in a negative way. I'm not saying that everybody's on social media lying. We know that there are some, but also you don't know how much skin they've had in the game. You don't know how many times they've tried and failed and picked themselves back up. You don't know how long they've been attempting this. You don't know what kind of team they have. You may be starting out doing everything yourself. They may have, a team of people behind them helping them. They may have had some capital to get started. You have no idea what other people are going through on the back end of their business. And again, I'm not saying this in a negative way, but just in general, we don't know how long people have been at whatever it is that they're doing. We don't know their journey in business. Everyone has had ebbs and flows in business. I promise you, even if they don't get online telling you the lows, which, we're not entitled to know the lows of people's lives or businesses, but I promise you, any business that you see, especially these businesses and corporations that have been around for 5, 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 years, they have gone through negativity. They have gone through ebbs and flows. Baby, if they in business now, they experienced the economy in 2020. They're experiencing the economy now when people are getting laid off and stuff like that, where, spending is just not what it was. And these businesses are still having to find ways to thrive. I'm telling you, every business goes through ebbs and flows and ups and downs. And just because you don't see it, just because it doesn't look like it, does not mean that that's not what they're experiencing. You have no idea. So you can't compare your journey to someone else's. You can't compare your 5 months in to their 15 years in. You can't compare you're working by yourself, doing everything by yourself to them having a team of 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 people. You just can't. So again, remember your why. Remember what you're doing, why you're doing it, who you're here to serve. And that will push you through, again, the ebbs and flows of business. But also know that, if you're called to it, if you believe this business is something the Lord has blessed you to establish, to start, He's giving you the idea, then remember that there is someone called to what you're offering. There is someone called to what you're doing. There is someone called to your services. And so think about that person and know that, you're going to fill a need. You're going to meet a need. You're going to answer a question. Your business is going to provide a solution for the people that you're there to serve. All right, you guys. So you already know we end every episode with a heart check. And today's heart check, I want to ask you, what is your why? What is your why behind establishing the business that you have or wanting to start the business that you're wanting to start? Who are you looking to serve? What problem is your business solving? Who's going to benefit from what you're offering? I want you to write that down, and I'm actually going to share a verse that I lean on when it comes to my business. And it is, let me find it. And that is Psalms 37, verse 5, which says, "Commit everything you do to the Lord, trust him, and he will help you." And that is something that I lean on when it comes to any area of business that I'm seeking clarity, when it comes to planning, when it comes to finances, when it comes to literally everything with the business, when it comes to finding help, when it comes to hiring, when it comes to firing, when it comes to the hard times, the good times, girl, all of it. I lean on that scripture heavily. Again, it is Psalms 37 and 5, which reads, "Commit everything you do to the Lord, trust him, and he will help you." And just know that, again, if this is something you believe the Lord put on your heart to do, that he wants to help you with everything, planning, marketing, all of it. And so I highly encourage you to remember your why and commit it to the Lord. Ask God to help you, ask God for clarity, ask the Lord how to start, ask him to lead you, and ask him to, again, send the right people to your business too, so it can be a great partnership and that the business can flourish and succeed in the way that he wants it to. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you found this helpful and valuable, and I'll see you on the next episode of Let's Have a Heart to Heart. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Let's Have a Heart to Heart. I really pray that you left our conversation today feeling encouraged. If you've enjoyed the podcast thus far, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and then go over and subscribe on your favorite streaming platform, okay? New episodes drop every other Monday on the streaming platforms first, and then we drop on YouTube the following Tuesday. Also, make sure you share this podcast with a friend that you think would enjoy it. And I want to know what you enjoy most about today's episode. So make sure you let me know in the comments down below. All right, you guys, I hope you enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll chat soon.